Good morning, friends. Now, today's we are going to discuss about the new topic under the nutrition and digestion in invertebrates as the filter feeding in the Polychaeta. First of all, moves toward the where exact location of that group in the classification. That Polychaetans which comes under the phylum Annelida, that phylum Annelida which groups into the three different classes as per the general body characteristics, that class Polychaeta, second one Oligochaeta, and third is the Hirudinea. The Polychaetans moves toward the Polychaetans. Here mostly the marine, while the very few members are the freshwater. They are carnivores as well as the head which bears the well-developed eyes, tentacles, cirri, as well as the pulps for the feeding purposes. In the Polychaetans, there are numerous laterally arranged paired parapodia are present. That parapodia which has different functions. There is a modification in different animals which are grouped into the polychetons as the neuropodia and the notopodia, where the clitellum which is absent and the polychetons are the where the sexes which are separate here. In case of the oligochetons and the hirudinea, that characters which are totally different here. Here the clitellum which is present in both the members or both the groups here, while both groups are the hermaphrodite, where the sex organs or the reproductive systems are present in a single animal here. The polychetons, some of the members, as per the name, Nereis, Aphrodite, as well as the Terebella. Now, moves toward the filter feeding in the polycheton. That polychetons, where the filter feeding which is observed, it means that the food which is suspended in the water is a strain or filter from the water and then it moves toward the inner cavity through the mouth region. Here, so many that sedentary as well as the tuberculous polychetons which are observed. Some of the examples are Sabella, Serpilla, Ovenia, Arenicola. These are the filter feeders. The filter feeders have evolved ciliary mechanism for the feeding purposes here. Because as the water current, where the detritus food materials which are present, and special modification in case of the anterior portion of the body for the trapping of that food particles which is important. The head which is provided with long bipinnate filaments, basically known as the tentacles, is the modified part observed in case of the that tuberculous polychaetes, and that name is the radiole. That radiole along with the ciliated groove running along with their oral surface easily trap and it moves or transfer that food particles toward the main oral cavity. Here, that head which lacking the proboscis, that is extended part of the head which totally absent in the form of the proboscis, while that head which is provided with specialized feeding processes with which they will collect the detritus material as well as the microorganism, even though the planktons which are present in the surrounding water, and convey that trapping material, food material, toward the mouth along with the ciliated tract. Here, on the filter feeding basis, that there are two different types. One is a transitional filter feeders, and second one that is a true filter feeder. In case of that transitional filter feeders, that animals or the polychetons, which are the water dwelling or lives in the mud or even at the bottom, and they collect the material through the mud or the bottom here, and they easily transport step by step toward the oral cavity here. First of all, moves toward the certain example which are associated to the transitional filter feeder. This is the pectinaria and commonly known as the cone worm. That cone worm which protrudes its head from the larger end of its tube, which is buried vertically in the sand. It means that that animal which is buried in the sand and only extended part or the anterior part of that body which is remains above the surface area here. It has the short feeding tentacles but digs by means of the comb-like rows of the city on the sides of the head, for it has no proboscis. That is, the so many modifications in the anterior part of the body which is observed in that filter feeders, especially the polychaetals here. That tentacles, sitting, proboscis that is totally absent here, and in some cases the parapodia which are modified here, and that all the parts which are special modified parts to filter the selected food material. Here, in case of that pectinaria, that anterior part which is modified here, it shows that comb-like rows of the city which are present on the sides of the heads here, and here the in case of the head that proboscis which is absent here. Here, the narrow end of the tube which projects just above the surface of the chimney through which the sand is cast out here. It means that comb-like rows of the city which are present just above the surface here, as the water current which is passes or along with the detritus material here, through which the sand is cast out after passing through the gut here. It means that along with the sand, detritus material which moves toward the oral cavity, sand is cast off and the selected food material it moves toward the inner cavity or the gut region here. After pectinaria, certain modifications also observed in case of the Nereis here. That Nereis diversicolor. Here, that Nereis diversicolor is the errant polychaetes and especially lives in the U-shaped burrows in the sediments where they produce the mucus secretion. And that mucus secretion which protect the surface as well as forms the temporary lining of the burrows which is observed in that diagram here. The secretion which is produced a net within the burrow here. It means that just above that or just within the burrow, a net which is formed by the secretion of that mucus here. Here, when the water which is pumped through this net, this is the net which is formed by the mucus here. It can be used for the filter feeding. As the detritus material along with that water current, they trap in that net and easily they transfer step by step toward the main oral cavity. But for trapping, no doubt the net which is formed by the mucus is important. But along with that, the presence of the tentacles as well as the pulps which are located on the head region which help for the collection as well as sorting of the food material with the help of that net produced by the mucus here. After that, third is the terebelid. This is the image is of the terebelid where terminal end where the numerous that tentacles are present. The terebelid is the deposit feeder which lives in the permanent tubes located in the mud. Here, it obtained the detritus material from the mud by extending long ciliated tentacles from head over the surface of the substratum. Here, the number of elongated that tentacles are present located at the terminal region of the head, and the tentacles which easily trapped. But one thing is that for trapping it is necessity is of the mucus here, and that mucus surrounded to that of the tentacles, the food materials easily that trap to the mucus here and swept along the ciliated grooves into the mouth here. Here, the tentacles which are highly mobile perform the functions as the attachment to the suitable substratum here. These are somewhat the modifications which are observed. In case of the tentacles, they are highly mobile and easily trap that food material to that of the that tentacles at the terminal or the basal region, that all the tentacles where the small ciliated groove is present, and that ciliated groove has the ability to transport the food material toward the oral cavity here. This propulsion is effected in parts where the musculature also the important to collection of the food material. After the terebelid moves toward the two filter feeders. Here, very important thing is that only the selected food material as per the shape and the size which are collected by these animals here. First of all, moves toward the arenicula. This is the image is of the arenicula, and that body which is divided into the three parts here generally. That anterior region which consists of the pharynx, peristomium, even though the neuropodia, and just behind the pharynx at the center position the mouth is present. That is the anterior region. Middle region which is the largest region, which consists of the notopodia, neuropodia, as well as the gills are present. While without the gills and the notopodia, the third region, basically known as the posterior region, where terminally the small opening present in the form of the anus. Here, somewhat the modifications also observed as this filter feeder. That Arenicola or the lugworm, which lives below the tide mark in the sea or the estuaries, having the less water salinity. That point is important. Where the water salinity which is low, in that area, they form the or they live and collect the food material. They live in the mud or the sand in the J-shaped burrows lined by the mucus here. Here, that burrow which is observed here and were lined by the mucus. The worm ingests the sand continually toward the blind horizontal end of the burrow by means of the simple short irreversible proboscis and forms a funnel-like depression on the surface here. This is the proboscis. That the head region somewhat the extended here in the form of the proboscis here. And with the help of the proboscis, they form the continuous tunnel that is a J shape here. Here, that worms irrigate the burrow by peristaltic body contraction, that the peristaltic movement of the body, due to which the water enters into the tube from the funnel-like depression and percolating down through the sand, which filter suspended detritus material as well as the other microorganisms or even to the planktons here. This is a simple pattern which is observed in case of the Arenicola, which lives in the J-shaped burrows. After that, moves to the Sabella. Here, in case of the Sabella, that the filter feeding which is observed and that filter which is provided by feathery crown of the prostomial tentacles. Prostomium, that is a that stomial region or the mouth region where the numerous elongated tentacles are present, which form the crown-like feature, that is feathery crown. We say that this is the specialty is of the Sabella and through which easily trap the food material. That feathery crown, which is composed of the two half circles of the bipinnate filaments, basically known as the radioles here. Radiole is a type of the tentacles, but here that bipinnate, that filaments which are observed here. Here that radioles are present are observed in the diagram. When feeding, that radioles or bipinnate tentacles, they are extended outside the end of the tube in the form of the funnel tube here, somewhat the extended and to form the feathery crown nature. And the ciliated groove which runs along the oral surface of the filament. At the base here of the each radiole, a groove is present, and all the grooves which are collected in the main groove here. That ciliated groove, we see that here. Here, that ciliated groove further opens into the oral cavity. That bitting of the cilia which present on the radioles draws the water from the outside of the crown toward the center here. When we take the section here, direction of the food movement which is observed here, this is the food groove or the tunnel, and through which the food which is passes into the main oral cavity here. Here, the numerous cilia which are present when we take the section of the each pinule or the that division of the each radiole here. Here, bitting of the cilia which is continued and through which the food material or selected food material step by step transported through the ciliated groove into the main oral cavity or the mouth here. The suspended food particles which are passing through the crown are filtered and trapped in the mucus on the radiole and driven along the ciliary grooves to that of the filaments toward the mouth here. Here, the one thing is that in the water current, the numerous food particles which are present depends on the or they totally different as per the shape and the size also. That Sabella only select the small food particle, while other food particles which are large in size, they easily discard it here. At the base of the filament forms a deep groove or the gutter, which acts as a complex sorting device which transfer only the smallest food particles to the mouth here. This is the image where only selected food particles which easily transported through the ciliated groove and then opens into the mouth here. While various sizes or the large sizes food particles, they easily discarded. They again enter into the water current and moves outside the body here. After that, third one, that is the Chaetopterus. That Chaetopterus, which also lives in the burrows, here commonly known as the paddle worm, and is a tuberculous marine polychaete here. It lives in a U-shaped parchment tube formed in the sand or the mud. The middle region of the body, which consists of the three segments, which have the broad flat neuropodia, which are fused in the middle to form the parapodial form. Here in that diagram is of the Chaetopterus, the body again divided here also into the three regions: anterior region, middle region, as well as the posterior region. Anterior region, which consists of the peristomial collar. At the center of that collar, the mouth is present, while from the base of the collar arises a paired peristomial cirri. Just below the peristomial collar, that notopodia which are present, total 9 segmented, or the 9 that notopodia are present, while the 10th one is that well modified and much more extended in the form of the great fan here. Just below to that of this, the sucker is present, as well as the groove is present starting from the mouth up to the base of the sucker in the form of the food cup here. In case of the middle region, that food cup which is observed, even though the fans is the modified part is of the parapodia. Just below the fan, the parapodia are present, which are biramus and which are locomotory organs here. Here, the specialty is of that the middle region of the body, which consists of the three segments here, which has broad, flat neuropodia. And that neuropodia is the modification is of the parapodia. That three segments are fused in the midline to form the parapodial fans here. These are the parapodial fans, or even though we say that neuropodial fans also. The bitting of that fans, which produces the water current entering the tube at the anterior end and flowing out of the other end. That continuous bitting of that fans, modified parapodia or the neuropodia, we say that in the middle region, the water current which is enters into the tube here, and through which the continuous flow from one end to the another end. The minute organisms which are present in that water current, which are collected by the two great winged notopodia, that great winged notopodia which are observed in the anterior region or the basal region of the anterior region is the modified notopodia protruding like the scoop here. 5. Food particles which are entangled in the mucus collected in the food cup, forming the ball which is moved forward along the dorsal ciliated groove to the mouth. It shows that as the food material which are collected in the food cup here, they form the ball of that food material and they easily transported by this channel toward the main oral cavity which is present at the anterior end, that is a mouth here. Here, so we completed that topic, that is a filter feeding in the polychaetes. Here friends, the next moves toward the exercise in the MCQ patterns is of the nutrition and the digestion of that topic here, which is very important for your university examination. Thank you.